Hey everyone, this is your comp one video for abstract and concrete. Forgive me if I sound a little, I don't know, somehow me and my family have a cold right now, so my voice might not be, I don't know, as chipper as usual. Alright, so I think explaining abstract and concrete is probably the most functional way that I have found to talk about what good writing is in really any kind of writing. So academic writing, creative writing, whatever. We're going to do a few different kinds of writing in this class, and we will talk about how abstract and concrete work more specifically to like academic research paper exemplification kind of stuff as we go on. But I wanted to give you the overview real quick and show you how it can work in your first essay. So my whole thing is going to be abstract plus concrete equals meaning. Okay, and so first we'll go over kind of what those terms mean. Oh, if I can get my slide to work. Oh, it's just moving slow. Shoot. I am not a PowerPoint aficionado. Alright, so concrete words are words that are things. So like tangible things or actions that happen in the real world that you can observe with your senses. So like if you can pick it up and throw it against the wall, if it's a ball or whatever, that is a concrete thing. So you can see the ball and you can see the action of throwing. Those are observable things. And the way that you can remember this, because I know that word-based terms can be annoying to remember, is concrete is a substance that we walk on and that you can observe and that you can notice if there's a crack in it or whatever, that it is under your feet as a real thing, right? It is tangible. So that is what concrete words are. Examples would be coffee, thunder, gritty sidewalk. So like you could just list all the stuff around you, right? Like computer, book, jar of peanut butter, that kind of stuff. It's just like stuff in the world that we can see or feel or experience in some sensory way. Okay. Abstract words are words that are, it's still real stuff. It doesn't mean it's not real. It just means that an abstract word just means that we're talking about some idea or value or a quality or a feeling or something like that that you can't really observe with your senses necessarily. So abstract language is going to like tell you how something feels, kind of. So justice, freedom, success, love, all of that stuff. So like justice is a very real thing, right? Freedom is a very real thing. But in order for words like justice and freedom to have meaning, they have to be connected to something that is concrete in the real world. So if we say, oh, I have, freedom to choose, I am free, I have freedom. All right, well, what am I talking about? Am I talking about the freedom to choose between McDonald's and Burger King? What am I talking about? Exactly. So concrete words are going to really nail down abstract words, and abstract words are going to lift up concrete words and give them some more like deeper human sort of connection. Okay, so one of the things that happens in our writing, especially when more creative stuff, but even not, the tendency is to be a little too abstract. So if we have a thesis statement or just some kind of statement that's like, society values freedom and justice, okay, that's not super specific. It's vague and it's hard to visualize. So we can say that as a claim, but in order for it to like mean anything, we got to see how that actually works. So you need to add examples or specificity. So like what concrete things or actions or like policies, what like pieces of writing and legislation show the way in which a particular society values freedom, because they might do it in different ways. And you can evaluate those if you want to, but different groups of people see freedom as kind of different, right? So what does this particular group understand freedom and justice to be in terms of how they act and the stuff that's in the world? So yeah, what makes that freedom and justice real? Okay. in academic writing, and I'll probably make you a whole nother video about this when we get a little bit further down the line, concrete details will illustrate a situation and abstract ideas will interpret that situation. So we'll talk a lot about analysis later on. So an example of analysis would be, I don't even know. I should have come up with an example before I started making this. I would maybe analyze that, or even just evaluate. Like I could say, Jif, no sugar added, creamy peanut butter is better than crunchy peanut butter or something like that. And then in order to back up that analysis or that claim, I would want to use evidence, in which I would say, for example, it's no sugar added, so it's, better for you or whatever. And for example, you can spread it on more things, like without there being lumps or something like that. So, connecting abstract and concrete is really going to be important as we go on. But what I really want to talk about with this one is more the creative side of stuff. And I know that our first essay is kind of non-traditional, and that's intentional, right? But I'm excited about it. I want to see what you guys come up with. And one of the ways to make this really good and to make this work, and also to figure out how to get it started, is to think of that interplay between abstract and concrete. So if you are, when you talk about use concrete language in your essay about your hands, what do your hands do? What actions do they take in the world? What do they look like? Do they have scars, calluses, tattoos, nail polish? Are they shaking? Are they warm? Are they cold? That kind of thing. So that concrete language is going to tell us like the sensory side of things. But in order for your idea to kind of be complete, it needs to have some sort of abstract connection. So what do those details about your hands like kind of stand for? Like what meaning do you associate with them? So, like identity, care, anxiety, control, love, history. So, like I have a tattoo on my hand that is essentially like a gravestone for two of my cousins who are dead. So the concrete description of this little tattoo is 2 lines and 2 dots. It's Braille. Or it's not Braille, it's Morse code. Sorry. And so it just looks like a little design, right? And that's the concrete description of it. It's not very big. But the abstract connection that I have to it is pretty big. It has a story about my family and loss and grief and all that stuff in there, when really the concrete thing is just, some little lines. So that's how we want to think about it. Okay. Yeah. So all kinds of strong writing are going to show what's going on, give us a sensory picture of like something that's happening in the world, and then reflect or tell like why that matters essentially. So I'll give you some examples. Concrete description would be my fingers, and these are super cliche, but it's concrete would be my fingers are stained with ink. The abstract meaning, like the reflection behind it, if we're going to tell what that means, would be writing came to be the only place I felt in control. So this ink stain on your fingers shows how much you write, and like how you were using that as a refuge, kind of, right? So yeah. Another example would be, my knuckles are cracked and raw from cold mornings. Right? There's nothing really abstract in that. It's more descriptive. So your knuckles are cracked and raw. The abstract connection with that would be like hard work, right? I don't think many people are going to actively choose to go out and mess up their hands on a cold morning unless there's some kind of work or care that needs to be done. So yeah, like hard work would be the idea that would be associated with that. Right? Here are some brainstorming strategies for kicking this hands essay off. And I have actually practiced this over the weekend, and I recommend the first 2. If that don't work for you, you can try the 3rd one. I'll talk you through it first. So, brainstorming strategies. You can my take on the writing process is, and there's another video about that, is going to be to not start at the top. Start with the most obvious thing that stands out. So one brainstorming strategy here will be to list the concrete features of your hands. So just like put it in your phone notes. You don't have to do this sitting down at a computer, with your headphones on and whatever. You could just do that. You could brainstorm this in your phone notes. So list some concrete features of your hands. Do you have a funky little tattoo like I do? Do you have a scar? Do you have a freckle? Are you missing a finger? Right? And then pick which one seems to be the most interesting. So maybe, I don't know if I'm quite ready to go into all this thing about my tattoo and my family and that kind of thing. Maybe I'll get to it. Maybe I won't. Maybe I want to include that. But I have a scar that tells a more funny story, and I want to, that's more interesting to me. I can think of something to write about that more quickly, and with less effort, kind of. Do that. Start with the interesting thing. This is a great time to try free write. We did that for our first week, and really, truly, you might be surprised with what you come up with, or just, what happens. So if you can't, if listing concrete features doesn't really work for you, you could try to list concrete actions that your hands take. So do you crochet? Do you dig a ditch? Do you care for others? Like, what are your hands busy with all day? And then think about how those actions, those concrete actions that your hands take, relate to your values or your identity or your experience, that kind of thing. So I personally think that the first two are easier, but, I wanted to give you an option for the other way just in case. You could also kind of make the essay more about an abstract idea, like give it a theme, if you will. So think about something that matters to you, like love, friendship, hard work, and then from there, once you have that abstract idea, think about ways that you work out those values with your hands. I kind of think that'll be harder, but we're all different. So here are some starting points that might help you brainstorm. And again, the brainstorming process doesn't need to be super official. I actually, for most things that I write, I sit there and make notes in my phone. It doesn't have to be some big long writing session. It can just be while you're waiting for something. I think that's don't scroll Instagram for 10 minutes. See what you can come up with for your essay. All right. And then after you've gotten your essay done, and I did say just like organize it somehow, it needs to make sense. Go back before you revise it. Read things before you turn them in. Look for abstract words that are too vague or not adequately grounded. So if you say like, oh, my hands hold all the love in my family, what do your hands actually do? Because they're not holding love, literally. They might be holding a child's hand. They might be holding a spatula. They might be holding a lawnmower. They might be holding, the hand of a dying relative. It can be a lot of different things. So try to be as specific as you can with your concrete details. On the flip side, look for places where you have a lot of description that doesn't really go anywhere. So if you're like describing the shape of this scar and you take up, 5 sentences describing this scar, well, you've taken up a lot of real estate describing it. So now what does it mean? How does it connect to anything? What's your point, kind of? So that way you can tie it to some kind of abstract meaning. So balancing these is actually a really, really good way to improve your writing skill in anything. However, I don't want you to feel like trapped by this, so you don't need to be like one for one. Here's my abstract thing, here's my concrete thing. I'm just making a list of all the different, features of my hands and then saying what they mean. It doesn't need to be formulaic, but it should be balanced in some way so that the abstract and concrete work together to create meaning, and that all of the descriptions and all of your words in the essay kind of work together, all right? So that there's not kind of just like extra stuff that doesn't go anywhere. So make sure your abstract words go somewhere concrete, and make sure your concrete words indicate something that's abstract. You will probably use more concrete words than abstract words because we use concrete words as symbols as well, right? So love, like the feeling or the action, can be symbolized by the word love, or be symbolized by a heart, there are such things as symbols. So don't inject a bunch of needless description in here if you don't want, try to make it, true and specific and to the point. But yeah, so big takeaway here would be that strong writing of any kind depends on the interaction between what we can see and what it means, between the details and the connections. And the more specific you can be, the better. I'm not telling you to get out your thesaurus, or please do not put this through AI and tell it to make everything more specific, because it will be flagged for one, but it will also be gross to read. So, but like, think about what words you're using. So if you say love, wow, that can manifest itself in like 5,000 different ways. But there's also more concrete there are also a lot of abstract words that you could kind of sub for love that would make it more specific, because infatuation is going to be different than compassion. And I mean, maybe infatuation and companionship work together or something like that. Like, doesn't mean these words are, separate in their own little boxes. But infatuation is different than compassion, but it could both be underneath the umbrella of love. So some concrete examples. So I didn't do all of these because it didn't fit on the slide. But like infatuation, your hands kept checking your phone, turning it over and over. So we have a concrete thing here, right? Oh, what did I do? Here, let's make that big again. There we go. So we're talking about infatuation, and the concrete ways that we're talking about that would be that, checking your phone. Checking is an action. Phone is concrete. Turning it over is an action. Waiting is an action. The screen lighting up is a observable thing. That kind of thing. So loyalty. So is this idea of, even when my fingers were stiff and tired, they stayed wrapped around hers in the hospital room. So if we're talking about loyalty, we can talk about loyalty in lots of different ways, right? So loyalty here is more specific than love. But to make that loyalty even more specific, here we're putting it in a hospital room. And that's going to be very different from other kinds of loyalty, right? Like not talking about people behind their back or whatever. Companionship, our hands moved in rhythm, passing tools back and forth without speaking, like we'd done 100 times before. So these are, just examples, but like the idea is be as specific as you can. Be as specific about the abstract word that you mean. If you say love and you really mean infatuation, all right, figure out how to use the word infatuation and figure out how to express that, right? In concrete ways. So this is the big thing that I will kind of hammer over and over here, because it makes for better writing if you can balance abstract and concrete. And later on, like if you take Comp 2 or you read anything in the world, as we will read in class, being able to see the connection between the abstract and the concrete stuff that is presented to you is critical literacy. That's like being able to critically think and read and see what kind of connections that are being made in a novel or in the news or whatever. It'll make you a better reader and a better writer. All right, have fun.